Happy New Year, folks, and welcome back to Injection of Inspiration, where every single Saturday I, Graham G.S. Matthews, inject you with a daily dose of motivational advice, helpful tips, and all that other great positive shit. I'm often asked when I found out I wanted to be a writer, and when I found out exactly that I knew when I wanted to do what I wanted to do, which is become a writer for the WWE or write about wrestling, whatever. I don't know, I really can't pinpoint an exact time period. I knew for a fact, dating back to December of 2010, that I had told my mom for the first time that I want to write for WWE someday. But by that point, I had already enjoyed writing. I started writing for Bleacher Report, writing about WWE, writing about wrestling, and just writing in general. I had been writing in general for a long time, but I started writing about wrestling, which is my ultimate passion, in May of 2010 for Bleacher Report. And even before that, I was doing it for the WWE Universe, which I'm not talking about for the fans. I'm talking about like a Facebook-like website that WWE had. You might not remember it, especially if you were not on the internet or social media at that point. Like, this is before Twitter and Facebook and shit. They had something called WWE Universe on their website where you could write, blog posts and communicate with other members, other fans and shit like that. That's where I was writing down my ideas, at the earliest, from what I can remember. But like I said, before that, I had been writing pretty much my entire life, because I just love to write. And at one point, I just figured, hey, I love wrestling, I love writing, let me just combine those two passions. But for some people, it's not that easy. Some people don't know what they want to do. I mean, obviously, this applies largely to when people graduate from high school and go on to college, if they go on to college, to determine what they want to do for the rest of their lives. And some people, by that point, just take general arts, I think it's called, or whatever it is, liberal arts, because they don't know exactly what they want to do. They don't know if they want to be an accountant, a film major, a communication major, a business major, stuff like that. People don't know exactly, so they kind of touch upon everything to kind of see what they're good at. And I had this conversation with someone before about a year or so ago, that knowing what you want is also knowing what you don't want. And that comes in handy when you're applying for colleges, when you're in college, and just in general. I mean, there's a lot of people, if you don't go to college, it's not the end of the world. And I tell that to people all the time. It's not, oh my God, if you don't go to college, you're not smart. That's not fucking true in the slightest, at all. That being said, though, if you also don't know what you want to do for the rest of your life, and you don't have to choose upon one thing, I think it helps to have a focus and aim for something, have a goal in terms of what you want to strive for in life. But beyond that, you might not know exactly what it is. I mean, just because you're good at something doesn't necessarily mean that's what you're destined to do for the rest of your life. Just because I'm good at writing doesn't necessarily mean that I love writing. Personally, for me, it does. But for some people, like, here's an example. Back in, middle school, I mean, usually, kind of always, pretty much ever, I've been good at math. I'm good at math. I can do some stuff in my head. I can't do, fucking arithmetics and stuff in a matter of seconds, but I can do pretty basic math in my head, and fairly quickly, too. Just because I'm good at math doesn't mean that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. I never loved math. I was good at math, but I was never in love with it to the point where I wanted to become an accountant or a business major or anything along those lines. I knew the entire time my main passion was writing and doing something along the creative front. So if I went along with math and chose that as my ultimate career, I would have been wasting my time, because I would have found at some point in that math journey that wasn't what I wanted to do. Just because I was good at it doesn't mean that I want to do it for the rest of my life. And there are things that people are interested in that they're not good at, but they want to get better at, And that's also very normal. As long as you hone your skills and you put in the effort to get better at whatever you're passionate about, then it doesn't really matter. I want to become a singer. Okay, let's say tomorrow I said I wanted to become a singer. I can't just say that without attempting to get better. I fucking suck at singing. You will never hear me sing, for the most part. I sing sometimes here on the channel for certain reasons, but beyond that, though, I'm not a singer. If I wanted to become a singer, I would have to try really, 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 really hard to get better at it, because currently, I suck. You can't just say you want to do something and then not apply the effort to get better at said thing. But I feel like the real key, just because I knew that I wanted to become a writer, doesn't mean that everyone else knows that they know what they want to do, that they know what they're passionate about. Sometimes it takes a little extra time. There's no one time like, oh, at 11 years old, that's what I knew. I knew for a fact that was what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. There really is no pinpoint. You really can't pinpoint it down for what age or what time period that you find out what exactly you want to do. Sometimes it takes time. You could find that out. You could discover that passion in your teens, in your early 20s, 30s, 40s. As long as you find it at all, that's really the main thing. But again, it goes back to what the title of this video is, and going back to what I alluded to earlier, knowing what you want to do is also knowing what you don't want to do. For me, with writing, I knew I wanted to write, and I knew I wanted to work for WWE, but I can't work for WWE straight out of college. I can't write for WWE instantly. I know that's something I have to build to. So what do I do in the meantime? Do I want to work at a newspaper? Do I want to write online? Do I want to do this? Do I want to do that? So I feel like a fitting story here to use was from about, at this point, 4 years ago, which blows my fucking mind that it's been 4 years at this point, but I guess time flies when you're having fun. So anyway, in January of 2014 for my college, the college that I went to, you had to take an internship your freshman year, your sophomore year, and your senior year. The freshman year one, I was so late in getting. I applied to a few different places in the fall of 2013. Some of them didn't even have internships, and I wasn't really sure. And I also procrastinated too. That didn't help. So I was struggling to find an internship for that break. When I was on break, that's when you have to do your internship, usually, is when you're on break in between semesters in that month of January when you're off. So I literally got an internship like in the last week of 2013, like no joke. On New Year's Eve, I got an email back from the company saying that, yeah, we would like to do the internship, but you have to do this paperwork first. So it was a little late because I should have already started by the following week. I didn't start until later than everyone else. But basically it was at a newspaper. I had never done an internship before. I had no idea what to expect. And by that point, I was fucking miserable at home. There was other shit going on at that point. So that didn't help. But it took an hour to get there every single day, which happens. I know people have commutes and stuff. It didn't help that I was already miserable at home, and I was only there for 4 hours, which is not that long of a time. But I got there, and I would do not nothing, but nothing productive. And I don't want to say nothing entertaining. That's not to say I did anything entertaining, but not every piece of work that you do in life is going to be enjoyable. Some stuff you got to do because you just got to do it. And there is something to be said for, paying your dues, in which I absolutely believe in. But I would spend valuable time at this quote-unquote internship putting together score reports and score results for certain games. I did get to do an interview with an Olympian, someone that was like around my age for skiing, which was pretty cool. But beyond that, I had to go cover games, which is pretty much what sport reporters do, and I have been doing that recently for another internship that I did about a year ago, but I'm still working with those people a year later, which is cool. But I would have to go to games back then. I would have to sit in a fucking office in a cubicle. My first day on this internship, I had to meet a beat writer, a basketball writer at some basketball game, whatever. And he was only a few years older than me. He had only just graduated college, I believe. And the kid was fucking miserable. He was saying how much he hated the job, how much he regrets, going into this line of work. And he's telling this kid that just started his first day of the internship. It's like, you're not making me want to do this at all. I would never want to work at this place. And that was only day one. The rest of the internship that only lasted 2 weeks before I had to go back to school was fucking terrible. I really did not learn much at all. And I would say to the people, oh yeah, I learned a bit. That's what I told my school, but I really didn't. And that, to me, was like the point where I said to myself, this is something I don't want to do. I want to write, and sports reporting would be cool if done the right way. Again, like I said, when I would do another sports internship, another sports writing internship about 3 years later, in the fall of 2016, it was a lot better. The people I worked with were not miserable. The games that I went to were actually kind of enjoyable, even though I could not really care much for sports at all. The work was great. I loved writing, so the writing came easy to me and calling coaches, and it was a much more satisfying experience. Not to say I would want to sit behind a cubicle every single day. I would much prefer to just work from home and work remotely, but that's just me because that's just what I've been doing since 2010 and writing for Bleacher Report and stuff. I'd rather not work a 9-to-5 job. I enjoy having hours that go late at night or early in the morning or kind of weird hours because that's just the nature of writing. But at any rate, the real moral of the story here is that in doing that first internship, I found out exactly what I do not want to do for the rest of my life. And I think that place actually closed down no more than like a year later because there was a fucking shit house and the people there were... I mean, the guy that I did my work under was nice. There was nothing wrong. No one was ever really mean, but everyone was miserable. It was an awful environment. I was miserable. It was not a great time at all. I felt like I was just wasting my time. I did it for the credits. I had to do it for school. But if it wasn't for school, I would have just left after those 2 weeks. And I thankfully did leave after 2 weeks and I never finished it. The school let me take those 2 weeks of the internship and I never had to finish the extra week or whatever because I wasn't at home. But it was a complete waste of time because I didn't learn anything. But the one thing I did learn, though, was that was something I did not want to do. So in a way, it was an effective learning experience. And you're going to have those experiences in life where you're going to find out, sometimes you'll find out exactly what you want to do and you're going to discover your passion instantly. But sometimes you won't. Sometimes it just takes time. And if anything, those experiences, everything happens for a reason. I say that in pretty much every single fucking video. But at least in experiences and circumstances and instances like that, you're going to find out what you don't want to do, who you don't want to be with. Like there's certain times like that. Like let's say you go on a date with someone and it's a fucking disaster. And you and the person, you have no chemistry, you have nothing in common, just nothing seems to go right. Was it a waste of time? Maybe, but it all depends on how you look at it. Now you know that's the type of person you don't want to be with. That is someone that you don't want to have as your significant other, as a friend, as a boyfriend or girlfriend, whatever. Doesn't matter. At least you know now, so it did accomplish something. You didn't know that before. Now you know that dating those type of people is not for you. Now you know exactly who you don't want to date. You may not know yet who you want to date, but now you know who you don't want to date. That's the first step in finding out who you want to date or what you want to do for the rest of your life, is finding out what not to do. So those type of experiences are crucial. Absolutely keep that in mind. That has helped me with a number of things over the course of my lifetime and finding out things I don't want to do or people I would not want to be like or, jobs that I would not want to have. The first step in finding out what you want to do is finding out what you don't want to do. And especially when it comes to school and learning and whatever your major might be, it just takes time. So just keep that in mind. And there's a lot of people out there who apply for colleges and stuff like that have no idea what the fuck they want to do for the rest of their lives. But they also try out certain things. You won't know unless you try. And I've said this before. You got to step outside your comfort zone. I'm pretty sure I just said that last week. And in doing those type of experiences, you might hate it. But you know what? Now you know that you hate it. Like, let's say, I don't know who would hate ice cream, but let's say you tried ice cream for the first time and you fucking hate ice cream. Hey, now you know you hate ice cream for a fact and you'll never eat it again. You won't know unless you try. And at least in doing it, you may not have enjoyed it, but you did learn that you're not going to like it. And now you know that as a fact and you can carry that with you for the rest of your life. So that's my 2 cents for today's injection of inspiration. Once again, guys, I hope you're having an awesome 2018. We'll be back with another new installment next Saturday right here on the channel. Be sure to like this video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content. Have an awesome rest of your weekend, folks. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.